Good afternoon and welcome everyone. My name is Mark de Groot. First of all, I would like to thank you for your interest in the solutions in the ISOC 24 portfolio. During these strange and challenging times, we do of course want to inform you about current trends and developments. After the successful series of live webinar sessions last week, this week we will again host 8 live webinar sessions with our strategic vendors. The third session of today is with Igor Konovalovs. When you have a question for Igor, please use the raise hand option. You will then receive a chat message. After the presentation, we will take some time to handle all the questions during the Q&A part. Of course, you can also skip the raise hand feature and save your question for that moment. For now, enjoy this session, and without further ado, Igor, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mark. Hi, everybody. I'm delighted to welcome you to this webinar. My name is Igor. I'm VP Field Operations of SecOps. And today I'd like to talk to you about our value proposition and basically discuss and illustrate how we are addressing modern cybersecurity challenges. In terms of words about our company, we were founded by Zook and Tali, and we are almost 3 years old company headquartered in San Francisco with regional offices in Amsterdam, Singapore, and Tel Aviv. In terms of what we do, our philosophy and our approach as a company is crash analysis. And in fact, what we advocate is that organizations really need to start thinking about analyzing crashes, because it can provide significant insights that otherwise may never be uncovered. And when it comes to crashes and related analysis, you most likely are familiar with some of those events. For instance, a crash could be a sudden reboot of a mobile phone or a workstation or a server. It can also be an application crash or even an application hang. At the end of the day, all of that can help to provide additional information around a particular event. It could be an IT issue or it could be a security incident. And that's what we aim to achieve by performing this crash analysis and crash forensics. Some of the popular and key insights that you can derive include, from a security operations standpoint, ability to understand who is targeting your network and also identify infected assets and subsequently find ways to purge them or disinfect malware from your network. But crash analysis can also be useful not only in cybersecurity standpoint, but also from IT operations viewpoint, because by analyzing crashes, you can also troubleshoot them and basically identify what are the reasons of certain devices periodically restarting, for example, or which applications are causing the most issues in your network, which generally help to improve or reduce your downtime and increase uptime of your assets in the network. And also from DevSecOps standpoint, crash analysis is particularly useful in order to analyze mobile applications, in order to find vulnerabilities and potential security flaws, and ultimately group all issues into several categories and then work to improve end user engagement through the applications. So all of that can be effectively derived via crash analysis. In terms of our solutions today, we provide 3 technologies. Neutrino is our automated crash forensics for endpoints and servers. And you can think of Neutrino as an automated threat hunting capability which complements EDR systems. And from Gluon standpoint, this is an automated compromise and risk assessment on mobile devices. If you have heard about some of the recent publicity when we uncovered mobile mail vulnerabilities on iOS devices, we use Gluon to detect it. So this is one-of-a-kind solution specifically designed to identify attacks and threats against your mobile devices on both iOS devices as well as Android devices. And finally, we'll briefly touch base on mobile application solution, which basically is a crash ops technology. So let's start off with Gluon. The best way to summarize this technology is an automated risk and compromise assessment, which can be done at a point in time. We are not installing anything on the phone. Instead, we are basically plugging a device into a computer and then performing a snapshot analysis of your asset in order to identify whether somebody has compromised it in the past or in present. And some of the use cases that we have observed being very popular across our customers include suspicion of being compromised, your phone being tapped, or especially pre-corona time and hopefully post-corona time, pre and post travel inspections. Every time you travel abroad, you can also perform a similar type of inspection. But overall, if you suspect that your mobile devices may have been tampered with or targeted, this is the solution that you can use to basically detect and discover whether there were any malicious activities on your phones. And some of the more common user groups that tend to benefit from that include executives, military commanders, managers, researchers, or actually any other employee who may have access to sensitive data. And that's what, generally speaking, our customers leverage this solution for. Some of the key functions and differentiators of Gluon against other technologies includes the fact that analysis is significantly more advanced than what you can achieve via application-based technologies such as mobile threat defense solutions, and that's because Gluon is capable of analyzing log data both above and below iOS sandbox, which in other words means that this solution has visibility into the operating system and kernel logs, and that is not possible through any other way, especially if you have an application installed on the phone. And that's due to architecture limitations, particularly on iPhones and iPads, but also to a degree on Android. In addition to that, even though we connect the phone physically via USB to a computer, it's still a privacy-friendly solution because we're not analyzing any personally identifiable information, or we are not taking any pictures, videos, or audio files from your phone. We are merely looking at application software logs as well as operating system logs, and at no point they will be attributable to the end user. And finally, investigation time itself takes minutes as opposed to weeks or even months if you do that manually. So this solution can be used at scale across a large number of devices in order to basically analyze them. How does it actually work? Very simple. If you look at iPhones or iPads, what you can do is you take a device, you plug it to a system with log extraction capabilities. And this system, by the way, could be your personal computer. Fundamentally, we provide software that can be installed on any computer to be able to extract the logs automatically. You could actually do it manually via iTunes or Finder, but it's just obviously not very efficient and it's a manual process. So we developed a very simple software that can be installed on a, let's say, personal computer. And then once you connect your device to your personal computer, the logs will be automatically extracted and then uploaded to Gluon server for analysis. And Gluon server is where all the analysis actually happens. This technology can be installed either in the cloud, which could be hosted by ZecOps or by our partners, or it can also be installed on premise for highly sensitive environments. And once logs are uploaded, they are processed, and then the output is a automated compromise and risk assessment, as well as relevant threat intelligence and other information. The entire timeline of this analysis takes no more than 10 minutes on average. Depending on the log volume, it could take a little more or a little less, but 10 minutes is a good estimate how long it could take. Sometimes it takes 2 minutes, sometimes it could take a bit more. Now, a few words about system for extraction. As I mentioned, it can be your personal computer, And so we provide software that you can deploy on your laptop or on your workstations. You can also deploy a kiosk, and this use case is quite popular in certain government organizations, which is also a computer, but it's basically presented as a standalone kiosk, which sole purpose is to extract the logs once you come to an office and connect it. Such kiosk could be installed on an executive floor or IT station, IT department. And finally, you can also leverage portable IoT devices for those users who may not be leveraging, let's say, personal computers, or for one or the other reason not carrying personal computers, especially could be with execs who might be only carrying iPads. And then you can actually connect an iPad or an iPhone to a portable IoT device like that and extract logs in the same way. At the end of the day, so it doesn't matter what you're connecting it to, as long as it runs the software, and log extraction can start and analysis can be performed. So this is pretty straightforward. So let me show you that in a dashboard. And fundamentally, what you can see here is the number of suspicious devices out of the total devices, as well as suspicious events, and also devices that are waiting post-travel inspection, just a handy feature to track those assets. The system provides other useful statistics, and for administrators or security operations center analysts teams, you also can drill down into additional details such as device severity and overall device status. As you can see here, we have 5 severity ratings from critical to legit. Critical and high typically indicate an attack, and the rest suggest a common IT or software issue. If you click on one critical example, you will be navigated to a subpage of a device, whereby you can see a very easy to read verdict. In this case, it's a critical device that hasn't been jailbroken, and it contains 4 suspicious events. You can then also read additional information within the dashboard, or you can access all of that through an automated report, which is sometimes preferable way to consume this information, because this report is generated automatically. Even though it looks like a manually written report, you can provide it to an end user as a deliverable, or just generally speaking, have that as an analysis results. So it consists of exec summary, overall device status, analysis methodology summary, device severity descriptions, summary and recommendations, and other useful sections, including incident response and triage strategy, and so on and so forth. Now, for more advanced or power users, if you want to drill even further, in Advanced tab, you can actually get information around type of checks that were performed, and also identify which events caused particular issues. So there were 7 kernel panics and 41 crash. And if you look at a critical event, you'll be navigated to an event subpage, similar to a device subpage, whereby you can see, again, type of checks that failed, a summary associated with those checks, as well as additional information over here, where you can basically see technical details and other useful statistic and data. Oftentimes, this is more for forensic investigators and security specialists. So depending on the knowledge in iOS forensics, that could be useful, or it could be that a verdict is sufficient to make an action. And some other features of the system includes a threat intelligence database against popular CVEs, which are triggered on any analyzed device, ability to search by different type of crashes and processes, and other useful statistics and features. So this is briefly about ZecOps Gluon, and hopefully it makes sense. Now I'm going to go to the second product, which is ZecOps Neutrino. The ZecOps Neutrino is a similar idea to Gluon, however, it's focused on endpoints and servers predominantly. And as a technology, it's also agentless solution. And the best way to look at it is either a continuous compromise assessment or threat hunting. And I say threat hunting because fundamentally, Neutrino is not a competitive product to EDR or antivirus, and instead it's a complementary technology. As a matter of fact, Neutrino only sees attacks that manage to evade EDR or other security technologies detection and blocking. Just to give you a case in point, imagine you have a weaponized document, let's say PDF documents, and if this document is being clicked on by an end user and then no security technology identifies it as malicious, then clearly it means that EDR or antivirus are not aware that this is potential attack, and it lets the document to execute. Now, upon execution, if the malware successfully installs without causing any issues, then obviously that's a bit of an issue. However, most of the time, especially in a large environment and larger network, a malware, an exploit that's being executed will cause an anomaly. It may not cause an anomaly on the first machine, but as it spreads, moves laterally, and starts downloading second stage payloads, eventually it will cause an anomaly at least on one device. And that's where Neutrino will effectively hunt for this type of crashes. And what happens is every time a crash occurs, it is automatically forwarded to Neutrino for analysis, and that's how Neutrino identifies whether a particular event is malicious or not. So consequently, as a technology, Neutrino has no overhead, and I'll explain in a moment how, but a key thing here is that we're not installing anything on an endpoint or a server, and instead we are relying on inbuilt existing functionalities of operating systems. And so stakeholders that tend to benefit the most from Neutrino analysis would include Security Operations Center and CSIRT stakeholders, who are basically tasked to hunt and identify advanced persistent threats and stealthy threats. So SOC and CERT stakeholders are definitely the key ones. And the other thing is it's continuous forensics, continuous threat hunting. So once you subscribe endpoints to send crashes to Neutrino, everything is on a continuous basis. And in terms of what you can achieve, if you look at Neutrino's unique capabilities, it can also extract automatically exploits and payloads from crash mini dumps. So for instance, if you look at the cyber kill chain, Neutrino detects attacks during initial infection, privilege escalation, and lateral movement. And the beauty of the solution is that it only needs to extract it once. Once you detect an attack on one device, you can effectively break the exploit chain and disinfect the entire network. So how does Neutrino achieve that agentlessly? Very simple. If you look at Windows as an example, Neutrino relies on the inbuilt capabilities of Windows Error Reporting Service, which in essence is a inbuilt feature that is default to every operating system on Microsoft. And this feature purpose is to create error reports every time a crash, a panic, or a hang occurs. By default, you send those error reports to Microsoft server if you decide to send crash reports for statistical analysis, or you may not send it at all because you disable that feature during installation. However, if you want to basically analyze it from a security standpoint, what you can do is to simply point it to Neutrino. And the way you can do that is by simply changing the address in the registry where the crash reports will be sent, because the functionality of generating reports and sending reports is already there on every endpoint and server. So all you need to do is to subscribe endpoints to forward crashes to Neutrino server. And Neutrino server can again be either installed in the cloud hosted by Zekos or our partners, or it can be potentially deployed in a local area network, even in an offline environment. And that is it. Once you start sending crashes, effectively you're subscribing endpoints to the system, and system could provide you relevant insights as crashes occur. Consequently, from a deployment standpoint, it's really, really fast. You can deploy it on any numbers of machines using group policy by pushing this destination address update and that can really be deployed on any number of devices within minutes. So it's a very straightforward installation. And in terms of other supports, from a platform point of view, it does not only limit analysis to endpoints and servers, it can also analyze IoT devices, ATMs, POS terminals, or embedded systems. Fundamentally, the key thing here is, are those systems running on an operating system that basically supports crash analysis? Windows does, most flavors of Linux do, as well as macOS. So from that standpoint, you can do that on different type of platforms. All right, let's have a look at this from the dashboard standpoint. The interface of Neutrino is very similar. It's based on a same engine as Gluon. So here you can see a small environment of 29 assets. 4 assets have been ranked as suspicious, and there were 9 suspicious events. And you can also see, for example, a timeline of events, how many of those were kernel panics, software hangs, or crashes. You can also detect event severity and observe which ones were legit and suspicious. In addition to that, there is a security summary. For instance, how many crashes occurred on endpoints, servers, or any other systems, crashes by operating system version, and so on and so forth. In addition, you have IT view, which also provides a holistic overview of the environment. And let's have a look at a couple of security events over here. So from a security angle, what you can gain from Neutrino is an automated ability to detect whether an incident is malicious. In this instance, you can see it's a critical severity incident, and it's critical because there were several checks that failed. In more details, or specifically, there was a heap corruption and a small variance of memory entropy. Now, this isn't something that happens in IT-related issues. Neutrino also provided a brief overview. In layman terms, it basically stated that there was a browser process crash. It's a very popular event, and most of us would simply restart the browser, which is probably all right. However, in some cases, it's much better to analyze that. And unless you do perform crash analysis, as far as I'm aware, this would be overlooked. And the problem with that is that in this case, even though it was a browser crash, there was also low entropy in the heap memory corruption. This issue occurred on only one device. And at this moment in time, it's only a qualitative assessment right now that this is a critical event and most likely an attack. But as you may remember from what I mentioned earlier, Neutrino can also automatically extract payloads and exploits from memory. Now, what you can see here is the actual exploit code, which was extracted from the crash mini-dump. And this is a very powerful feature, because if you don't know where to look, or even if you do know that something is malicious, basically going through memory and finding this, it takes a lot of time. Neutrino does it automatically at its scale. You can even push it or play it back through a sandbox. We do have an integrated sandbox in Neutrino where you can basically see how a particular attack behaves. And in this instance, you can see the pop-up window. So just a handy feature to understand what happens. So that's a browser process crash. The other fairly similar example, but with additional features, is a Dll Injection. Just like in previous example over here, you can see it's severity verdict, checks that failed. Oh, sorry, I'm showing you the wrong example. It's that one. So here you can see that Neutrino found and rebuilt DLL. And if you scroll down, you can actually find this rebuilt library. And because in this case, there was also a relevant threat intelligence artifacts, Neutrino automatically extracted it and placed it in different subgroups, including URLs, strings, file hashes, and so on and so forth. And what you can do is manually extract or manually promote particular artifacts to become indicators of compromise. So this is a semi-manual job by an analyst. Neutrino basically extracts all relevant intelligence, and then an analyst decides which strings or artifacts deserve to be promoted to indicators of compromise, which you can then push through an API to other technologies, be that a SIEM or maybe other security defenses. In general, both Neutrino and Gluon support API. We leverage RESTful API, and all output can be pushed and enriched or used to enrich your other security solutions. So this is briefly about Neutrino's security capabilities. However, it's not all. Neutrino is also an IT operations solution, and it can really help to detect, for example, applications that are causing the most crashes in your network, most hangs and panics. And that's quite helpful because that way you can improve operational performance and also identify those applications that probably aren't mandatory or relevant, but at the same time causing a lot of issues in your environment. You can also detect assets that, for example, fail to update to the latest operating system version, and that can be derived from crash analysis too. In this instance, if you click on an example, you will see that this device over here failed to install the latest operating system update, and the consequences of this are twofold. First of all, a device might be vulnerable to the latest attacks that may have been patched in the software update, but also from an operational standpoint, it can cause other issues. And over here, you can also see, for instance, processes that are causing challenges, and drivers, if you have any malicious or faulty drivers, that can also be potentially seen here. So that's about it on a high level. And this technology can be deployed almost any environments, and it's really designed to complement and extend your existing security portfolio. It does not replace anything. It just makes your existing security investments even more powerful, since it basically detects attacks that those defenses may actually not see. All right, and so the last solution, just very brief note about it. It's a crash analysis technology for applications using SDK. It's a very lightweight SDK, less than a megabyte in size, and in fact, a couple of 100 kilobytes. And you can leverage it on different mobile operating systems in order to detect applications that are faulty and also identify vulnerabilities and, generally speaking, improve application performance. So for developers and from a security standpoint, it's actually quite useful. And again, it's all derived from crash analysis. On that note, I would like to conclude the presentation and give you back quite a bit of time. But before we wrap up, I would like to open floor to any questions, and I'll be delighted to respond should you have any. Mark, back to you.
Thank you very much for this enlightening presentation, Igor, for the different modules of the solution. I think we got a good view of the possibility of the ZecOps solution. So let's wait for some questions to come in. You can ask the questions by doing the raise hand or send a chat message. So we'll wait for that. Thank you. I have a question coming in. How does the deployment scenario look like, Igor? Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Sure. So depending on the product, if you look at Gluon, deployment-wise, there's nothing to deploy actually. All you need to do is to decide which computer you will use for log extraction. As I mentioned, you can virtually take your personal computer. We provide a software that you can install on your personal computer, and that becomes system with log extraction. And you can do that on any number of computers. You can do it on a designated machine or machines, and all you need to do is to simply connect the phone, and that will be enough. So that's from our mobile as security solution standpoint. From a neutrino standpoint, deployment is also agentless, so you basically need to point endpoint servers or any other systems to send crashes that are automatically generated on those devices to neutrino server. If you want to install neutrino server in your local area network, that's possible, although most of organizations would normally opt for deploying that in the cloud, and we would provide or host this solution in the cloud, and then we'd give you a configurator file which you can push through group policy or manually on any device in order to make 2 tiny updates in the registry in order to basically change the destination address to neutrino server address and enable the sending part. When this is done, the next time crash occurs, it will be forwarded to neutrino for analysis. There is no latency because basically you're sending it through the existing capability, and operational performance also there is none because this capability is running in the background. So that's really the only thing you need to do. But of course, if you want to deploy it offline or in your local area network, then you will need to prepare the environment for that, few servers, and we would provide relevant software. But other than that, it's all very, very straightforward.
Okay, thank you very much. No other questions coming in yet. I suggest we wait a couple of minutes for them to arrive or not, and then we do the wrap up.
Sounds good.
Another question coming in. How does the licensing model work? What are the options there?
Sure. So again, depending on the solution, if you look at neutrino, licensing model is based on number of endpoints or number of systems in scope. So if you want to subscribe 1,000 endpoints or 100 endpoints, it will be an annual cost based on the number of licenses you subscribe. And Gluon, generally speaking, is the same. It's per number of devices. However, alternative to that would be per inspection. So you can buy let's say 100 inspections and then leverage them on any number of devices you wish. But a lot of organizations choose to buy, let's say, 1,000 licenses and leverage them in an unlimited fashion, because each license enables you to scan devices many times as you like, which is also quite important because periodic continuous inspections are key here, since even if you clean today, your phone is not infected today, in a month's time, in a week time, or even tomorrow, it can be infected, which is why per device is probably more cost effective. And CrashOps licensing is based on monthly average users. So we basically estimate it and then provide a price accordingly. But all of that is a software as a service type of model.
Okay, thank you very much. I didn't receive any questions anymore, so well, let's do the wrap up then, as it's called. Igor, thank you for the presentation and for providing us with a broad overview of the possibilities of the ZecOps solution. As mentioned, the questions can be asked afterwards as well, via email or other means of communication. The session has also been recorded, so will be shared with you as well. and will be made available on the ISOC 24 website within a couple of weeks from now. Next to that, we are all thinking about, well, the possibilities of future webinar sessions. So please check our website regularly. And of course, we would like to meet up with you in person again. Looking forward to that as well, of course. So yes, well, thank you, Igors. For now, all have a great day and stay healthy and safe. And hopefully we'll meet again in the future. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.